Waspinator. Finding himself in a world thousands of years distant from the one he once knew, Waspinator did the only thing he could, found someone strong, and put himself under their command. Sure, he's been manipulated, and sure, he's getting blown to pieces just as regularly as he used to, but at least the guy he's working for now knows how to put him back together properly.
Hey, and welcome back to eBEFOREi Video Reviews. Today I'm very excited to be taking a look at Generations Transformers IDW series Waspinator. Now, Waspinator is really a fan favorite of, a number of generations. I mean, from Beast Wars to Transformers Animated to just, he's popped up in the comics. This guy has really just gotten a cult following. May not be the brightest Transformer there is, but he's certainly not the dumbest either. I'm looking at you, Dinobots. So anyway, Waspinator, he's had many forms as far as the toys are concerned. And this is the first one we've had in a Deluxe class in some time. So I'm excited to see if this is really a true, worthy update to your Waspinator collection. Or maybe you're a first-time Waspinator buyer. And so is this really worth your time? We're going to explore that here and more. Let's take a quick look at his tech specs, then we'll get into the figure itself. His strength is an 8, his intelligence is a 5, his speed is an 8, his endurance is a 5, his rank is a 6, courage is a 7, fire blast is 7, and skill is a 6. So his technical specs are not too bad at all. Let's take a real close look at the figure. Now, the detail here is phenomenal. I mean, it's really, really good. Right off the bat, you can see this color blue that they used on his eyes. I mean, it really shines nicely. Especially here against my real bright lights, but it really does look great. You've got a lot of green on the figure. This is not painted plastic. This is just green plastic. You have a few different colors of green. You've got the darker green here. Actually, you've got three. A darker green, an even darker green, and then a lighter one right in here. You also have yellow bits and a typical yellow and black behind there because, well, he's a bee, so that's what you get, a green bee. You have brown here on the antenna, brown on the legs, brown here on the little wing bits right here, the connector pieces. A very cool symbol here, and you guys are going to have to fill me in on this. I believe that there was a case in the Waspinator mythos to where he had a Predacon symbol, and he scratched that off and said, no more, he wasn't going to do that. So this might be a Waspinator symbol, possibly, but I'm not sure. Hopefully you guys can fill me in on that. Other details of the bug, again, you've got his little antenna that's hanging down and these green pinchers. And I like the detail in the pinchers because they've got that real jagged kind of toothy edge on the inside, which is very, very neat. Now, kibble-wise, that right there, it does kind of suck. I mean, it stinks. There's a whole bunch of robot kibble just kind of folded up. These are his legs in robot mode, and as you can see, they actually come up and peg right into that. And it's fairly obvious. The arms, too, you've got very plain robot arms here, and hands there as well. And so there's that aspect of him. The wings are really, really nice. The best way to show off these wings is to really put my hand underneath and look at that kind of purple mix inside of the plastic. It's almost like a purple and lavender and almost a little bit of red, and you've really got an incredible look to these wings that make it look like an actual bug wing. I'm no expert on real bug wings, but I've seen a few. I've seen my share of bug wings in my life. I'm deathly afraid of bugs, by the way. So I've seen my share of the wings. I'm usually running in the opposite direction when I see them, but that is just very, very neat and a nice detail. They could have gotten lazy on this. They could have just made this transparent or a painted color. And the fact that it's translucent plastic with that little bit of something baked into the mold to give it that sheen of an actual insect wing is fantastic. Love that quite a bit. Now, as you saw when I was moving the wings, he's got this little lever right here, and when you push that, his wings start flapping. Now, I'm a grown man, kids. I mean, so I don't know that I'm going to be flapping these wings around a lot, but it is cool. I see that, the fact that we've got a gimmick that actually kind of works, I think kids are going to love this, and maybe even you big kids out there watching this are going to love this too, because you can certainly give the whole pretend that he's in flight thing, and that's just really awesome. Here's underneath, and it's just a whole bunch of kibble. It's not real pretty under here. Honestly, this insect's best look is from the top down, or from certain angles. He looks good. But if you get down in here and you kind of see the hand there, you see the feet, I mean, really from the bottom it's not great. Not a deal breaker by any means whatsoever, but I would say that the insect mode is the weaker of the two here. Now, neat thing about these legs, there's no articulation in these brown bits, but you can stand him up, and he can stand on them pretty well. None of the segments in the legs are joints, so you're not going to get any posability that way, although you can move them around, and these are nice and stiff, but you can move them. But outside of that, the bug head doesn't move, the little incisors or the pinchers don't move. You got the movement on the wings. This back section doesn't move, the stinger doesn't move. I mean, nothing really moves. So there's really, outside of the wings themselves and the brown legs on these little joints, you're not going to get really any movement outside of just sheer fun in putting a bug on your shelf. Normally, I'd be pretty hard on something like this on a deluxe class figure with no articulation. In this case, it just looks so darn good right now. Just staring through my camera, this bug looks great. So no real complaints from me outside of what I've just talked about. One thing with the wings is that it looks like you've got 2 sets or 4 wings, but these 2 pieces of plastic here are just kind of stuck together, so you're not going to get any separation there. The wings themselves are on ball joints, so you can put the wings up, I suppose. I don't know why you would want to do that, but you can do that, so I guess there's that articulation. Although I wouldn't go putting these up and down a lot because I think you'd strip these ball joints out and you'd have to stick some glue in there just to stiffen them back up. The yellow and the black in the back is, it's painted, so it looks pretty good. The stinger also is transparent, and that will come off. In fact, we'll do that right now. And this will transform into his weapon, and to transform it, you're literally just going to open it up, turn it around, and you'll put that in his hand. Pew, pew! Sorry about that. But so that's basically it, and that's kind of cool, and we'll talk about that a bit more later. Let's get Waspinator transformed into robot mode. Now, as I'm quite sure, as you may have guessed, the transformation here is not overly difficult. The instructions are kind of crappy. So there's a lot of this that's not super intuitive, but once you do it one time, you'll see that it's so simple that you'll kick yourself for ever having struggled. Or maybe it was just me. The first thing you'll want to do is you want to unpeg what become his legs. And to do that, you just give him a little pull so that the foot part comes out. Do the same thing on the other side. And you want to come up to what are the arms in robot mode. And these are tabbed in right there. You just want to go ahead and pull it out of the tab. There's also a tab right in there, a little circular tab that fits up into that slot. So you got to disconnect the arm from 2 locations. Not really that big of a deal. Rinse and repeat on the other side. Just pull these out. From this point, you can grab this whole section and start to pull this out. Now we can straighten up the leg. So you're just going to open it up like that. Do the same thing on the other side. Now we're going to take this B section and we're going to open it up like this. Just grab it and crack that B open. Actually, just move them down like that. Then you can take this hip joint, move the whole thing around, and then bring the legs back down. And then you're basically just going to slot this little slot right there, right up into the screen thing like that. And you form that part of the legs. To continue on, you want to take these brown insect pieces, just tilt them up like that. You're going to open the foot up, and then reach back here, pull this down, and you've got a heel. And he's got real nice stability, unlike other people in this wave. Looking at you, skids. Same thing over here, bend, open, grab the heel, and pull that down, and you've basically formed the legs. Now you want to come up here to the top. You want to start to bring down the chest, but before you bring it all the way down, you want to come here to the arms and you want to open these flaps. You see they're on these joints right there. So you're going to open that up just like that, and then you're going to push the arm bits together. And what that's going to do is that you can see there's this little joint right there, and you end up separating the bug head, which ultimately becomes the chest of Waspinator in robot mode. Now once you've brought that down, you've got a head reveal. You've got a tab right there and a slot right there, but before you can slot them into place, you just want to take this whole piece and stick it back up into the chest. Then you can bring that tab down and stick it into the hole just like that. We are really close. The next thing you want to do is take the arm, just bend it down, and then turn it so that the ball joint faces out. Take the brown insect legs and move them back. Do the same thing on the other side. Twist, turn, lift, and from this point, you're ready to stand him up, pose him up. And here we have Waspinator in his robot mode, and Waspinator looks great in robot mode. His Wasp mode looked good, don't get me wrong. A little bit of blocky kibbleness going on at some points, but overall, nice looking Wasp, but robot mode is where this guy takes the cake. Let's take a closer look. Peer into the eyes of Waspinator. What a great head sculpt. You can see he's got some teeth. Let me see if I can focus better. You can see he's got some teeth underneath his big mandible claws there, or his giant waspy teeth. So that is really such a nice touch. Now the IDW magazine art that comes with this, his little pinchers are gold, and that would have been really cool here if it was gold instead, like what he has up here. If that yellow was painted down here on his little bits under his mouth, would have been awesome. But as is, it still looks really, really nice. Now the back of his head is one giant piece of light piping. Let me see if I can get this up near my lights. I mean, look at those eyes. I mean, that is just incredible. I mean, you talk about light piping on a figure. I mean, that just really looks fantastic. It doesn't take much light to make these things glow, and really nice look to him. You can see where he's got the separation and where the wasp head was. He's got this kind of green bit on the inside, which does look good. You've got the yellow, black, and some brown stripes where the thighs are on his legs that kind of match the back, and then also some yellow stripes down here on the legs as well. His weapon, as it was part of the stinger, we talked about that earlier, is really the same color, so it's really a nice touch. Now the wings on his back, because it's sitting in those ball joints, you can place that any way you like. You can kind of put it diagonal with the B behind. You could stick it up like that. Again, I don't know why you'd want to. The one thing you can't do is give him kind of Seeker-like wings, or like old Insecticon-type wings, because you can get them up there, but they'll flap right back down again. And unless you had a way to lock that little wing bit, there's no real way to make that happen. Articulation with Waspinator is pretty good. His head's on a ball joint, so he can look up, down, and all around. He's got a ball joint at his shoulder, another ball joint at the elbow. His wrists do swivel. He has no waist articulation. He does have a ball joint in his thigh, hinge on the knee. Unfortunately, there's no pivot in the foot, so that does limit a little bit of posability, but because of this back heel bit, he has absolutely no problem standing up. I should also mention a neat thing that I really just noticed myself here doing this review, that the material that they use for his eyes, if you turn that at a certain angle, it turns the same kind of bluish color as the bug eyes right there. I mean, watch me do this again. And I've tried this under a few different light sources, and it's not just my lights playing tricks on the camera. It really does that. I have to assume that that was by some kind of design, but that's really awesome. For a quick size comparison, standing him up as tall as I can, he's still shorter than Transformers Prime Ratchet. In this case, it's the Dinobot Ratchet. But you can see that he's not a very tall figure, but that doesn't take away from the character. It's not like we're presenting a Deluxe class Optimus Prime here. I mean, this is Waspinator, and I think he scales very well at the Deluxe scale in general. And because where I'm at, and this is part of the IDW series that came with this magazine, and again, I am such a fan of these IDW series magazines, the artwork, and I know, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I think that it's really good stuff. I mean, the pictures in these things are really, really wonderful, in my opinion. The stories are good, too. They give you some back history of the figure that you have in your hand, and some very, very neat stuff. So check it out. If you can get one with the comic, then by all means do so. So it comes down to this. Do I recommend Waspinator? If you've been listening to this review, then you know that the answer is yes. Love this toy. This is a great addition to your collection. When you see him in store, definitely pick this guy up. Give him a home in your house. As long as you treat him nicely and don't threaten to blow him up to bits, he'll be very happy in your house. Anyway, thanks again for watching eBEFOREi video reviews. Your support means everything to me. If you like what you see, please rate and thumbs up and comment and all that good stuff. If you want to subscribe to my channel and you're watching this anywhere other than YouTube, you can find all my reviews at youtube.com/eBEFOREiNet. If you want to follow me on Facebook, I'm at facebook.com/eBEFOREi. And I'm on Twitter too. You can tweet me at eBEFOREiNet. Thanks again for watching. See you again real soon.